Hello everyone, I'm Malvian and today we are going to solve the LeetCode challenge on the challenge number 67 called the add binary. And for this particular challenge it is on easy difficulty and we are using a TypeScript as our language. If you want to use something else other than TypeScript, then go ahead, I encourage you to do so. And for this particular challenge, we have the function called the add binary that takes two parameters, which is the a in the form of string and b is also in the form of string. And the expected output is also in the form of string. Given two binary strings, a and b, return their sum as a binary string. What it means by binary string, it means that we have the only 1 and 0 as the string, and then the output is also in a binary, but it is in a form of string data, so it is called the binary string. And for this example number 1, we have the calculation of the binary string. Let's say we have 11 and the next string is 1. In the binary string setting, we have, since it is 11 in a form of string, then we can separate this part since we are working with a string and then align this part to the right, and that way we are calculating as if 1 equals 1 is supposed to be 2, but for the binary string it is changed as 0, and that way we have the carry of 1 above the 1 right here. So in other words, we are summing the 1 with the b, and then we have the result of 0 instead of 2, and then the exact result will be added to the next binary operation. And then for this carry 1 as a carry right here from this calculation of the 0, since we are working with binary setting instead of just usual math setting like 0 to 9, and then we are using only 1 and 0 as our number, and we have the carry of 1 for the next operation, carry 1 and then added by the first string of the a, and that way we got 1 sum to 1, and then we got 0 as our answer. And to let me align this part, and then we have another carry in front of the 1, and we have another carry of 1, and the carry from this line already eliminated because we already calculate and we got the result already. And then we have another carry which in front of the first string of the a, and then we add 1 again in front of the existing calculation, and then we got 100 as the string. So that is the result of the using the output right here. And for another example, we have b right here and a right here, which is 1011 with the 1010, and then the calculation will be 0 added by 1 is equals to 1, because it is 0 and added by 1 is the same thing as using a usual mathematical calculation. If it is 1 and this is 0, then the result will be 1. If they are both zeros, let's say if they are both zeros, 0 added by 0, and then the result will be 0. And if it is 1, either 1, then the result will be 1. The same thing as also 0 added by 1 is equals to 1. If both are 1, then the result will be 0 and we have the carry of 1. So that is the binary string operation. And for the next iteration, we have starting from the right. Remember, because we are working with binary, and then 1 with 1, and we got 0, and then we have the carry of 1, and then carry of 1 at 0 equals to 1, at 0 equals to 1 again, and we got 1 right here, and we already insert the carry as the result output. And for the fourth iteration, we have 1 and then added by 1 equals to 0, and then we add 0 and we have the carry of 1. Since string a and string b don't contain any string anymore in front of both of them, then we only add 1 in front of the fourth string, so this one will be the fifth string that is inserted in front of the resulting output. Okay, so for the constraints, we have the length of the both of the strings, which is 4 with the power of 4, 10 with the power of 4, and then either a and b consists only either 0 or 1 characters instead of character other than 0 or 1, there will be no character other than 0 or 1, and each string does not contain leading 0 except for the 0 itself, so it is not possible to be null or undefined. And so let's solve this out by creating a while loop. Because we are starting from the right, we can declare another let to declare a pointer as I. Because we are working with while loop, then we need to somehow get around the usual for loop operation using the built-in variable or scope variable inside the for loop, and then using I as the pointer of A. So it is starting from the last index of the A, and as we go up into the iteration, it will go up to the next iteration from right to the left. The same thing also goes with the B. It is starting from the back of the string, which is 1 right here. It is the only string that we have of the example 1, then it is not going to be a problem. So we are using the let I pointer, and for the B we have the J pointer using the a.length. Since we are using the TypeScript or JavaScript, then we can treat the string as just like an array, and then we can use the length property just like we are working with array, and then we can determine the index or using the square brackets as a pointer, and also the same thing also with the operation of the array. And so why I'm using the -1 is because the length property takes the value of 2. If we only insert value of 2 without the -1, then we will get the undefined, because it is already out of bound, because index 1 is supposed to be 1 right here, and what value of 1 of the last index is on the index 1, and for the first one we have the index 0. Remember that string or array operation with the pointer of the index always starts from 0 instead of 1. So that is why we are using the -1 to correctly point to the last index of the string. And for the let J, we can use the b.length -1, and J will get the length -1 is equals to the 0, and pointer J with points to the index 0. And we can use the console.log in the template string, the sign below the tilde sign, and then we can use the template string using the $sign with the curly brackets to see both values using the I and then J. And we have, let's declare the I variable, and then the next one is the J variable, that is the string, and let's return nothing for now. Let's run this. Whoops, let me reload my page. And we have wrong answer, and I variable equals to 1 and J variable equals to 0. And if we happen to use the A and then takes the I as the pointer and then J as the pointer using the square brackets, instead of A we are using B because the J only points to the B parameter. So let's run this again. I'm using the white space to separate this colon sign to minimize the confusion, and you will know what we are trying to work right here. And we have I variable equals to 1 and J variable also equals to 1 because it is J pointing to the index 0 and the A is pointing to the index 1, which is the value of 1. Both have 1 value, and so we can use the while loop to check as long as I is above or equals to 0. We are using the iteration to iterate from the right to left, just like on the B pointer, and then we are using the or J as long as both I or J is higher or equals to 0, then we need to iterate over them, and then don't forget to I minus minus and then J minus minus, and then the while loop will stops. Let me use this. Let me move the console.log part, and then we iterate over the string, just like we are iterating the array from right to left, and then we iterate over the A element and B element, and then let's run this again to see the console.log. We expect the value to be undefined, yes, on the B variable, because the J already, let's say from the first iteration we have the J already equals to 0, and then since we are using the J minus minus again, the J will mutate itself and then change to, because using the minus minus operator or the subtracting operator, it will be subtracted by 1 each time the while loop operates. So I will be subtracted by 1 and we got 1, and then becomes 0, and then J also applies and 0 becomes minus 1. So what about using the, and then the variable of the J already undefined because it is starting from the 1 right here, and then in front of the 1 there is nothing, so that is why it is returning undefined. What about eliminating the B and A pointer, acting the I and J as the pointer, and then using the I and J right away? And as expected, we will get 1 0 and then minus 1. Yep, we have 1 of the variable I and then 0 of the variable I, which is points to the index 0. And what about the J variable? We have the already 0, index 0, and then we have index 1. Since index 1 does not contain anything, then it will return undefined. So that is the fundamental that you should know while working with code challenge like this one, to prevent any misinput and out of bound variable. That is why I'm explaining this to you. Okay, so let's move on to the next part. Since we already working with the I and J equals 0, and then we iterate over the I and J and we can declare a variable to handle if it is already undefined, like the B using the J pointer, which returns undefined. We can use the constant of the A value to make a fallback to check if the A of the I using the I pointer is using the parseInt right away, instead of the checking if it is equals to or higher than 0 using parseInt. If it can be parsed, if it is, then we can return the value as it is. Then if it is not, we will return 0. And what about the B value? We can use parseInt to make a fallback. Oops. If it is not undefined, then we return the value. If it is undefined, then we return 0. Okay, so for the iteration, we use the I and then J. We have I. Instead of using I, we can use the A value from the variable and then B value. So let's run this again. Yep, we have 1. From the first iteration, we have 1 starting from the right, and then B, whoops, I'm using the I instead of A, and then J should be B. And we have A from right, we got 1, and B from right, we got 1. And the A from the, we already working with the right, and then we move 1 by 1, and then we got 1 again. And then since it is already undefined, then we return 0. What about using the null coalescing operator using the question mark? If it is undefined, then we fall back to the 0. So let's run this again to see if it is correct, and we have not a number. What about using the OR sign or the double pipes? Let's run this again. Of what we are trying to solve right here, I am trying to explain to you about using a fallback if the current iteration is undefined or not. If it is undefined, then we fall back to the 0. If it's not, then we return the value as it is using the parse integer method chain with the double pipe. Yep, we got 0 instead of undefined or not a number error value or null. Okay, so what about the next one? We can use a carry, and we declare a carry first. Let carry equals to 0 for now, and we need to calculate using the constant result, and we calculate over the a value with the b value, and then we can console.log of the result, and let's run this again to see if it can be calculated over. And we have 2 and then 1. And what about the case 2? We have 1 and then 2 and then 0 and then 2. From the right, we have 0 and 1 which equals to 1, and then from the next iteration we have 1 with 1 and we got 2. It's supposed to be 0, and then we have the carry of 1, and this one is supposed to be, we have the carry added by 0 is equals to 1, and then added by 0 again, but 0 is equals to 0. But since we have the carry from the back, from the third iteration of, not third iteration but the second iteration, because we are starting from the right, remember, it is supposed to be 1, the result should be 1. And then for the next one we have the result of 0 instead of 2, and we got the 1 in front of the standard output right here. So the expected output should be 10101 instead of 1202. Okay, so what about using the next one to calculate if it is returning a carry or not? We can filter out the result variable right here. If it is returning 2 using the constant, not constant but carry, which is we already declared the carry outside of the while loop, carry equals to the check if the result is equals, or because the result is possible to be, let's say we have the value of, let me use this, let's say we have 1 and then 1, and we have the carry from the previous iteration, we have 1 right here, so the result should be 3, and it is possible to be 3, either 2 and 3, and then we have to make this as a carry. Let's say the result is equals or above than 2, then we need to, if it is, then we need to return the carry as 1. If it is not, then we return the carry as 0. We are assigning either 1 and 0 to the carry variable if it is above 2 or not from the raw result. And instead of using 2, we can use the, if it is higher than 1, then we need to store the carry, and if it's not, then if it is either 0 or 1, then we are not storing any carry at all. And then for the next one, we need to somehow, let me use the carry as the console.log for now. Let's run this again one by one, and because I want you to know what we are trying to work here step by step. And we have the standard output of 1 and 0. Because of the carry, we have the 1 with 1 right here, we have the carry of 1, and then for the next iteration we have the 1 and then the carry is not available. And for the example 2, we have 0 and 1, we have the carry of 0 of course, and we have both 1 and we got 1 as the carry, and then we got both 0 and we got 0 and then it's 1, then we have the carry of 1. Okay, so the next one should be, and for the next one we can declare the answer string using the let variable called the answer in the form of string, and we can declare the answer as the result from the right here, from the one right here. But before that, we can use the carry as the result right here. Don't forget to insert the carry from the previous iteration, and then we declare the answer if it is higher than 2 using the result using the modulo 2, and then we got the answer. Why I'm using the modulo of 2? So let's say we have the result of 0. If we are using the modulo 2, we got the value of 0, and then if we have the result of 1 and we are using the modulo 2, we have the answer of 1. And we have the, if we have the answer of answer of 2, and then we calculate using the modulo 2, we got the 0, and then we got the carry in front of it, and then it is already handled by the carry variable right here, and we have the result. If it is higher than 1, then we store the carry, And then for the next one, if it is 3, and then we have the modulo of 2, and we got the answer of 1. Let me use my calculator right here, and we have the table here. We have 1 modulo 2, which in a form of percentage operator right here, which is modulo, and we got the value of 1, and using the 0 modulo 2 we have the value of 0, and 2 modulo of 2 we have the value of 0, just like on the table right here, and the 3 modulo 2 we have the value of 1, and still we have the carry of 1 from the carry handler right here on the line number 10. And then we need to insert it in front of it, but for now let me just use as it is, and then we can use return, and don't forget to use the answer plus equals, because we are adding the result as the answer string right here. And then for the next answer, if we have 1 as the from the, let's say we already have empty string right here, we have the empty string from the first iteration. For the next iteration of the second iteration, we have either 0 or 1, we are inserting 0. And for the next iteration again, since we already have 0, then it will add on the next one, which either 1 or 0, like this. And then for the next one, we are adding the 0 and then 1. We already have 0 and 1, and we are adding 0 again because we are using the plus equal sign, and we have the string as the variable of the answer right here. Okay, so let's run the code. Before that, we need to return the answer. Let's run this using the test, and we have the value of 0 0 instead of 1 0 0, and we have case 2 right here, and we still not storing any carry in front of it because we still have the remaining carry from the variable right here. And then let's say we got the 0 with 1, and then we got the answer of 1. Remember that we are using the answer variable, which not reverse yet, using the raw answer, and then we are just adding this using the plus equals, and that might confuse you initially, but bear with me, I'm going to guide you through this. Let's say we have 0 and then using 1, and we have the sum of 1. For the next iteration, we have both 1 and we got 0, and we have the carry of 1, and then the carry x 0 with 0, since it's supposed to be 0, then we have the carry of 1, then we insert 1 as the carry right here, and then the carry will return 0. And then for the next one, we have 1 and then 1, we have the 0, and then we have the carry of 1, but then the carry is not being inserted at the end of the string right here. So in order to insert the carry, we need to check if the while loop, if we still have as long as we still have the carry is above 0, then we need to convert the carry as the answer. So let's run this again. So that is the main thing of using the answer, which not reversed yet. And what about the case 2 right here? We have 0 1 0 1, but it is supposed to be 1 0 1 0 1, but in reverse. So how do we reverse this string? From the previous explanation, we have the variable of the empty string, and then it becomes 0, and then for the next one it becomes 0 1. And let's say we happen to not use a binary string at all, then it is going to be 1 0 and then 2 instead of the 1 like this. And then from the, let's say we have the empty string, and then the first string from the first iteration we are returning 0, and the next iteration we are supposed to be returning 1 0, and then for the next one we are supposed to returning 2 1 and 0, and we are adding, each iteration should add the string in front of the existing string. How do we get around this? Instead of using the plus equal sign, then we are using the equals, and then result modulo 2. I'm using the parentheses to separate this one, and then we are adding the answer of the existing answer variable, and then we are, that way, since we are working with the string, answer will be placed on the back and the new result will place on the front. So let's run this again to see if it works using the control and single quote, and we have the correct answer right here. And so about the case 1, we are inserting yes, we are inserting 0 in front of it, and then for the last iteration we are inserting the carry in front of it. Okay, so let's submit this. Okay, so that's about it. I hope you understand my explanation. If you still don't understand, you can ask me in the comment section, or if you have any better solutions regarding this challenge, tell us what you think in the comment section. I hope you have a great day. Thank you for watching the video, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.